We've talked a lot about just the way in which the country has adapted mobility. There's been outflow from cities into suburbs and supplies dwindling. What do you think happens here in the coming quarter, regardless of what mortgage rates may do?
Well, I mean, there's been kind of all the cards have been thrown up in the air because of COVID, right? Companies have now untethered us from corporate headquarters, and that's what my startup is all about. So, I mean, Pacaso allows people to own a portion of a second home, and that makes second home ownership more affordable. So that's my sort of play in housing, is to try to help people own portions of second homes through this new startup that I've launched called Pacaso. In addition to that, you just see people being much more mobile and people reevaluating where they live. You see people moving outside of city centers more into suburbs, and in some cases moving from cities to truly rural areas. But everything is up for grabs now, as we've been told by companies just in the last couple of months. We no longer have to commute to headquarters, and I don't see that trend changing. I think that is a real permanent shift to how companies work, and that will create a lot more mobility and allow people to live where they want to live, not where they have to work.
Interesting. So when we get a Reed Hastings or a Barry Diller on our air who argue that remote working simply, in Diller's words, doesn't work, you don't see that companies are going to adopt that attitude at scale?
I think we're going to have a hybrid approach. Barry and Reed are being intentionally provocative and controversial, as they both tend to be, kind of position themselves, I think, at one end of the spectrum. I think the truth will be some sort of hybrid where companies require employees to be in a physical office, maybe one day a week, maybe one couple days a month, perhaps, but it'll be much more flexible and hybrid. Companies will reduce their corporate footprints, which is bad for commercial real estate, and employees will be able to live an hour or 2 hours away from corporate headquarters in the suburbs where they can get more house, or perhaps they'll have 2 or 3 sub-houses, if you will, through companies like Pacaso, through co-ownership, and because they won't have to be in the office every single day. So, no, I don't agree with where Reed and Barry are on this issue.
So the second house demographic, Spencer, I'm guessing you think is larger than maybe many people think of it, right?
It is. So, I mean, owning a second home is a huge luxury, and it provides a canvas for building lifelong memories, but it's historically only been accessible to the 1%. And yet, second homes are an incredibly underutilized asset. We've got 10 million second homes that are vacant 10 months a year. So what we're trying to do at Pacaso is create a new category of home ownership, which is co-ownership of second homes. So instead of buying all of that lake house that you're only going to use 1 or 2 months a year, buy a quarter of it and have other strangers own the other 3/4, strangers that Pacaso fills out kind of the ownership group for, and right-size your ownership in that home. And we think that will make second home ownership much more affordable and accessible to many more people.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.